What's up, everybody? If you want to join the greatest online Star Wars community, the Fandom Menace, make sure you hit that subscribe button before today's video starts, so you don't miss out on any updates and you're always the first to know when our newest videos go live.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
So yesterday we put out a video about Kathleen Kennedy's secret agenda. Well, it's really not that secret. It was a video that came out 3 years ago that seemed to just fly under the radar, but it's been very, very successful in the day that it's been out. In said video, we discussed Entertainment Earth and their dozen Rose Ticos for Valentine's Day special. At the time of the recording, it was a whopping $239, which perplexed me. Came out to $20 a figure, and I thought to myself, who the hell's gonna buy this? Well, either our video reached them, or they had a come to Jesus moment, because they've lowered the price. Now you can get Rose Tico, a dozen of them, a bundle, a bushel of roses, for 92% off. That comes out to $19.99 for all 12 figures. Now, I don't know if our video had anything to do with it, but, you know, I'm a toy collector, a big, avid toy collector, and I use a lot of these online retailers. So I decided to put this video out to clarify the situation of Rose Tico. So yes, at the time of yesterday's video, they were $240. $240 for fucking Rose Tico. Who bought it? If anyone out there bought this for Ethan as a joke, let me know. And I mean at full price, not the $20, because you know what, folks? If you love world-class bullshitters or the High Council, what you can do is send us a dozen Rose Tico figures to P.O. Box 5069, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45205. And we will build a shrine to Rose Tico, kind of like that guy who built the shrine of Jerry Maguire VHS tapes. I mean, I want to move. Why not move into a home built on Rose Tico? I can't even. I gotta be serious for a moment. Fucking Rose Tico. Seriously though, Rose Tico, the question about Rose Tico is, why her? Why is she failing so hard? I mean, last year, in January of 2018, I believe it was 6 weeks after The Last Jedi came out, I found Rose Tico figures being clearanced for a whole $1. Then throughout the year, I found them in droves. I mean, in April, I went to another Kroger location and found over 3 feet of Rose Tico figures, which I stacked up and promptly kicked down. I'm sorry, I'm trying to take this one seriously, but I've been a Star Wars fan for about 23 years now. Maybe 24. We'll just say late 95, early 96. But 96 was my first Star Wars toy Christmas, so I got the Power of the Force 2 line, the Millennium Falcon, X-Wing, TIE Fighter, all that stuff, Landspeeder. It was a really exciting time. And I've been into Star Wars toys the entire time. So I got a pretty good idea of what sells, what doesn't, who historically has been a pretty lame figure. And up until recently, Yarna, the lady with 6 boobs from Jabba the Hutt's palace, she was the figure I would see on store shelves for years. I mean, she came in like a white package with a Stormtrooper helmet on it, and she was still at Toys R Us years later when they were past the vintage collection and they were onto these things called the Black Series 3 3/4 inch, and she stuck out like a sore thumb. Bad character design and all this other crap really goes into play. Also, I don't think kids recognize her because all she does is kind of kick her leg and walk around Jabba's dance scene. So I could understand why Yarna doesn't sell. But Rose Tico, she's the hero of The Last Jedi. She saves Finn from sacrificing himself from saving the rest of the Resistance. She wears a potato sack, and that is why I think the figure flops. See, last year they tried to turn Rose Tico / Kelly Marie Tran into a political martyr. Now, I personally have never made fun of Rose Tico on social media, never added her, never bothered her, don't have a reason to. I don't know the actress Kelly Marie Tran personally, and I never will. But I don't want to bother her, because she doesn't bother me. She's an actress, she played a role, but I don't like the role. And Rose Tico was very lame. She cried a lot, she ran around in what was tantamount to a potato sack. She just wasn't a very good character. I mean, if you sat down and watched The Last Jedi, and I'm sorry if you do, ask yourself, what does Rose Tico do that's actually cool? She bites a stormtrooper. That's the only thing I could think of off the top of my head. Or she spits at him. I don't know. I haven't watched the movie but 3 times, and it's been 3 times too many, in my opinion. But my point that I'm trying to make is that Rose Tico is the newest Yarna, aka the peg warmer. And if you don't know what a peg warmer is a figure that just sits on store shelves. And as I continue to get pictures from all over the world, from Sweden, from Canada, from places that still have Toys R Us that are either vibrant and growing or dying slowly, I'm still seeing Rose Tico on the shelves. Hell, even prominent YouTube toy channels have contacted me via email with stacks of Rose Tico figures out in the wild. Entertainment Earth is a big e-tailer. I have bought from them in the past. I just bought something fairly recently. So they're a good place. They have good products and good prices. And they're stuck with Rose Tico. Lots and lots of Rose Tico. Gotta remember, folks, you have to buy figures by the case. So in a case assortment, you may get 2 Rose Tico figures. And there's one person to blame for making these decisions, and it's Kathleen Kennedy. And now you're thinking, Jeff, she didn't decide the weight of assortment. Yeah, but she decided, and her story group, that there needed to be more women action figures to get Star Wars to appeal to more women. Now, I've said this before, Star Wars has made billions of dollars. When you adjust it for inflation, I believe it was $7 billion in the US alone. Look up the numbers. There is no way that those numbers reached those heights without women watching Star Wars. You can say, well, men just drug their girlfriends. I don't think so, because that only works once. I don't think you're going to be able to take your girlfriend 12 times to go see Star Wars. Now, if you're a couple who like sci-fi or fantasy or just great movies, you went and saw the first one a couple times, maybe a dozen times. The stories aren't uncommon to hear somebody say, oh, I saw Star Wars 20 times that summer. It's a great movie, maybe the greatest of all time, definitely the most important of all time. But the female audience was already built in. Now, I'm not against growing an audience. I have a channel, I want to grow my audience every single day. I understand where they're coming from. But by that same accord, I don't want to get rid of the people who have helped me get to where we are right now. Star Wars did, and Rose Tico is just one small example of that. Now, Rey, Jyn Erso, those are other female characters that haven't sold well, but it's not really a female-to-male action figure, what's selling, what's not, because all the Disney Star Wars characters are pretty easy to find at massively discounted prices. I mean, Cassian Andor and Jyn Erso were 3 cents a piece last year at Walmart, and somehow new figures are finding their way back to Target, which that's a story unto itself. But all these toys sit somewhere, and we know that Entertainment Earth has a whole bunch of the Rose Ticos. So, like I said earlier in the video, if you love World Class Bullshitters or the High Council, send us a dozen Rose Ticos to P.O. Box 5069, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45205. I mean, $20 for 12 Rose Ticos? That is awesome. I don't know what we'll do, but at the end of the day, folks, I just wanted to let you guys know that there's a massive sale on these Rose Ticos, and it has nothing to do with politics and identity and agenda and all this stuff. What it has to do with is a character in a bad costume who doesn't do anything very cool, who doesn't capture the hearts and imaginations of anyone out there. You know, for every article you'll see about how people approach Kelly Marie Tran and tell her how important she is to them, which is nice because I don't have anything against her and I don't want people to go talk shit to her. I just want people in the real world to realize that Rose Tico is not viable in the retail space. $1 is what they were trying to get rid of her for 6 weeks after a movie came out, and that is just unheard of. The only other thing I can think of that's even relatively close to that was the Ghostbusters 2016, when the toys were already 25% off on clearance before the movie had ever even hit theaters. You know, folks, it wouldn't be unprecedented to say that Jar Jar Binks has been a more successful action figure in the retail space than Rose Tico. And Rose Tico, there's not just one. There are 3 Rose Ticos. There is the 6-inch scale, which is what you get in the dozen Rose Tico bouquet. There is the 3 3/4 inch, which is the one I have for $1. And then there is the Rose Tico in her military uniform, which, I mean, if you want to reenact that scene from The Last Jedi, and every kid does, well, you can get it rather cheap. So the Rose Tico situation is just a microcosm of the entire Star Wars situation since it's been purchased by Disney. I know in the beginning a lot of people couldn't come to terms with it. they thought to themselves, well, The Force Awakens makes me happy. Well, Rogue One's so great. This, that, and the other. And now we're here. And those same people have changed their tune. And that's fine. Change your opinion on a film. But what I find to be the most embarrassing of all of this are the people who defended Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams and attacked other fans. The thing that's most disappointing are these journalists out there who lie and make up bullshit because they want to make Disney look good. The culture war that we always talk about has been going on for many, many years, and now with Star Wars, it's too late. People think, oh, Episode 9 will fix everything. No, it won't. It may be a fine movie, it may be a great movie, it may be worse than The Last Jedi. But what it's not going to do is fix the public's perception of where Star Wars is. Not everyone's going to go see this movie. You're only as good as your last film, and for a lot of people, your last film was The Last Jedi because they either didn't know about Solo or they completely skipped it. And if you go from a movie you hated to a movie that flopped, why would you go see the next one? Well, people like John Campea and Scott Mendelson will tell you, because it's the final chapter and everyone's got to see the final chapter. What's in the final chapter that people want to see? More Rose Tico? No. Rey's journey? Completed. She beat the villain in the first movie. What are they going to do? And where Star Wars is most hurt is in the place where people have the most love for it, in the toys. I know a lot of grown men, hell, I'm one of them, who love Star Wars stuff. I have figures from when I was a kid, some things I've picked up over the years. When I would see something cool from Star Wars, I would buy it. Now, post-Disney buyout, I just don't do it. It's something that I can't allow myself to do. And yes, there are some really great pieces of merchandise, but there are also some pieces of shit. And you'll see none of that in my collection anymore. I just won't do it. Unless it's Rose Tico. Unless you want to send us a dozen Rose Ticos to P.O. Box 5069, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45205. So what do you think of this whole situation? What do you think of Disney Star Wars overall? I know that's a very loaded question, but I do like to read the comments. I know we had one listener yesterday say, I'd like to apologize for reposting the same thing, and then he started talking about Luke Skywalker, but that's okay. I look at the Fandom Menace as a fan support group, just as much as I look at it as a group of people who are disenfranchised by a bad film and bad treatment of fans. I think a lot of people fail to understand that the Fandom Menace isn't holding on about The Last Jedi. A bad movie's a bad movie and you can get the fuck on. What's bad is the situation surrounding it because it's unprecedented. And this is our way of saying, you don't get to treat customers like this. We're the ones who pay the bills. We're the ones who buy your merchandise, buy your tickets, shirts, everything. You don't get to call us terrible names and then guilt us into seeing movies by having stupid people claiming they're smart because they have a degree, trying to use virtue signaling and scare tactics to go see these movies, to support these characters. You know, I guarantee you, every virtue signaler out there who loves Rose Tico didn't buy a $240 case of a bouquet of Rose Ticos. They just didn't do it. Because most of the people who cheerlead for Disney Star Wars either don't have much money to spend or won't spend it on Star Wars. Yeah, you have your outliers, but that's in every situation. That's why the phrase outlier exists. So if you're out there and you love Disney Star Wars and you've bought everything and you have a nice house, awesome. Did you get a case of Rose Ticos? Probably not. So there you go. Prove my point. Boom. My math is astounding. Well, that feels like it for today. So folks, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, share it all over social media, and get involved in the Fandom Menace. If you're a fan of this channel, join our Patreon page. $1 a month goes a long way, but $5, which is only 17 cents a day, goes even further. You get access to exclusive digital content, a bonus podcast every Thursday night, as well as the possibility of a t-shirt appearing on the channel, and a whole lot more. But if you can't afford it, not a problem. Join the World Class Bullshitters fan group over on Facebook. It's a lot of fun. Go make some friends, interact with people who feel the same way about entertainment. Not just Star Wars, but everything. Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, comic books, movies, the Super Bowl, the Oscars, the Grammys, you name it. There's topics of discussion about everything over on our fan group. So collectors, I have a question for you. Have you ever seen it get this ugly? Everyone wants to throw, oh, Episode 1 toys did this. Not like this. Not like this. We're a year and 2 months removed from Star Wars The Last Jedi. By 2001, my toy stores had Star Wars The Power of the Jedi line. So I wasn't seeing Episode 1 figures still hanging on the shelves like I am The Last Jedi figures. And you can say the economy's different, and I will agree. But we do know that action figure sales rose 10% last year, but Star Wars dropped over 37%. So I want to hear your excuses out there, folks who think we make up stuff and inflate numbers, because we don't. In places like Entertainment Earth, places like our friends over at the Jedi Temple Archives, places like Rebel Scum, they know. If you're in a forum over there, let us know, and we'll have a discussion. So if you hear this today, it goes live. Tonight on the High Council, we'll discuss the Dozen Rose Ticos. Again, send us a Dozen Rose Ticos to P.O. Box 5069, Cincinnati, Ohio 45205, and we'll do something with those Rose Ticos. So until next time, folks, have a good one, and as always, be excellent to each other.